So let's come back to our train problem. So we did first this direct connection. We said that if I want to go from say Chennai to Bhubaneswar, I would look at the list of trains passing through Chennai, and for each of them I would check whether Bhubaneswar appears in the list of stations that that train goes to.
Right.
So that was a direct connection.
That's
Then we
direct
said, then we said we could look for one change, right? So I would look at, for example, all trains going from Mangalore, and then find out what all stations I could go to. And supposing I want to go to Pune, I would do the same thing from Pune. Find out what
So
all
find
stations.
all the stations you can reach from Mangalore on one side.
Yeah.
Find all the stations you can reach from Pune on the other side.
And then see if there is
There is an
anything.
intersection.
Yeah.
It means that that intersection point is a place via which
I can
you
go.
can go from Mangalore
Yeah.
to Pune or vice versa, from
Yeah.
Pune to Mangalore.
And then we can further, from that list, we saw some redundant things and we could
Yeah,
reduce
because it was going like this.
and then coming
and
back.
then that doesn't make sense. You pick the earliest
Yeah,
point.
so you can pick the other.
Yeah.
So Mumbai was the better point.
Mumbai is a bit.
But now if I want to do it for 3 stations, for instance, then how would I do it? I mean, I would have to take,
Hence, if I want to go from A to
supposing I have to change twice,
I have to change twice.
then I'll have to do this whole thing 2 times.
It's too painful, huh?
And then it could be 3 times and then 4 times. And how we don't know actually what is I mean, supposing it is possible to go from somewhere to somewhere, but you have to change many times and we don't know how many times you have to change. Then doing this each time, doing this iteration of this list is going to be
Seems
very.
that we should just maintain this connection, no? See, if I can go from A to a station, from one station to another station, if I can go, if I can maintain that
Okay.
somehow in a relation, that relationship somehow I can maintain it.
Yeah. then-
Graphically, that.
Yeah,
whatever
so
it
maybe
means
we
so.
want to go back to our graph idea and connect stations. If there is, so we
There's
want
a way to connect this.
Yeah, because
Go
in the
from-
also we are doing this again and again, and we are probably computing the same thing several
Again and again,
times.
right?
Yeah. So maybe we should just once and for all try to calculate.
Figure out whether you can go from one station to another.
Yeah.
And write down that relationship, put it down in some
Yeah. And
form. Store it somewhere. Huh?
in a graph.
In a graph.
Yeah. So we will just connect 2 stations by a line, an edge, if it's possible to go and by one direct train from here to there.
Then we put an edge.
It's an edge, and we can label that edge. Maybe we can put the name of the
Put
train.
the train.
Train number on
Okay.
that edge. So we can have, yeah, so we can have like, for instance, I don't have a.
Let's take some stations. Maybe.
Yeah, let's take a train for example, just to illustrate. So supposing we have this, so we could say that Kharagpur, right, and Kolkata are connected by a direct edge, and we would write here.
A directed edge, arrow, no? You want arrow? Because direction of the train is there.
Yeah, direction of the train is there, so we should probably draw an arrow.
To Kolkata to Bhubaneswar, Kolkata to Kharagpur.
This is Kolkata to Kharagpur, sorry.
And then the other train.
And the other train will be the
2202,
matching train, which
yeah.
will be 02202.
So you can make directed edges and put the train number as
Train
the
number
label.
on the edge as the label, and this will give us a picture of what all are the possible
Possible
ways
ways.
of going across the stations. Right? So of course, if we do this for all the stations here, this is going to be
Big graph.
a big graph. So
Many stations.
what we can do is we can pick out a few stations which are interesting and see how they are connected.
Pick those stations which are basically somewhere in the middle of India.
Yeah, so let's
Many trains going through.
yeah.
So they're interesting stations, right?
Yeah, so a few from kind of
Also
center
divided,
south,
yeah.
center west, so across the
country,
but not in very extreme places. So we won't go deep south to say Trivandrum or
Kanyakumari or something.
Kanyakumari or something.
Okay.
So for instance, in the south we could look at Bangalore, and then somewhere in the middle north you can have Kanpur, and then somewhere in between them is Nagpur. Then Pune is a little bit west of this. Secunderabad is here. Vijayawada is here, for instance.
East, it's in the east.
Middle
Yeah.
east. And then because we know that a lot of trains go through Delhi and Calcutta,
You want to keep them, huh?
it may be useful to have them
Okay,
as,
so we don't need,
as
we
these
need the
kind-
trains.
Yeah.
We don't need stations anymore.
So let's move the stations out of the picture for now.
We need all the trains.
So we will keep the
Okay.
these. So we essentially we have these 6 stations. We are interested in knowing how they are connected,
And
and we keep these because we would
go through
expect.
them.
Yeah, we won't actually think of Calcutta and Delhi as part of our graph, but we will kind of connect through them, right? So this is our graph that we want to construct now. Right? So let's try and
So what are we trying to find out? We're finding out whether there is a way to go directly from Pune to Nagpur, Nagpur to Kanpur,
Yes.
Kanpur to Bangalore,
Yeah,
Bangalore
for
to
each of these.
Secunderabad like that, huh?
Yeah. So
If not, you might find that there is a way to go to Bangalore to Secunderabad via something, Pune, something. I don't know what it is, right? We'll find out.
yeah. So we have say Bangalore, we have say Secunderabad. So actually, these railways, they actually have some codes for these, so you don't have to write out. So every station on the railways actually has a 3 or 4 letter code. Then you don't have to write the full name.
But if you look at it, you'll not make out of it.
Yeah, but somebody needs to know the name.
Yeah, okay.
So since we are not specialists in that,
Okay.
so we will just write out. So we have
Frequent travelers will know all that. People who are traveling with them would know all that, Pune.
and then somewhere here is Kanpur, say.
Okay.
So these are our 6 stations. I have roughly drawn them
Geographically
where they would appear.
Bangalore is here and Kachar.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh.
Okay. So now we want to check whether there are edges between them.
Huh.
Right? So for instance, this we can do by our old trick, right? We can just look at.
Okay. So Bangalore to Vijayawada, let us
Yeah.
say.
So Bangalore we will see. So
So
Bangalore.
just Bangalore, see if there is a train which takes you from Bangalore to Vijayawada.
Yeah.
So,
So we don't have. I don't think we even need to go to the trains
no?
because we know the trains are
Oh,
going.
train numbers
Bangalore.
are there. I just
Yeah.
have to check the common.
And then we have to train numbers here. And we
Excellent.
can just see whether
Oh,
there's.
okay. That's nice.
Of course, we don't know the direction, so maybe for the direction it's better to look. But we can see in terms of arrival departure. So 12214 is not there in Vijayawada. 2246 is there,
Oh,
and 2246 departs from Bangalore. So it is from Bangalore, and it goes to Vijayawada. So there is an edge in this direction, which is
I just want to confirm. It's okay if I confirm.
yeah,
2246?
02246.
Yeah. 2246 you're saying goes from Bangalore to Vijayawada. It must be going somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, it must be going further also, but
Very likely.
it is at
Calcutta.
least going to
It is,
Vijayawada.
yeah, Bangalore to Vijayawada to Calcutta. I can
Okay,
see that, yeah.
so Bangalore, Vijayawada, Calcutta. So this is at least there, and the reverse train is, according to this, would be 2245, which arrives.
So
in
maybe
Bangalore.
we don't need this, yeah.
So we can do this. So we have this information.
Nice.
So this is one step.
Okay.
Then we can ask for everything else. So Bangalore to Secunderabad, for instance, we can check
Okay.
if there's anything. So we know the 2 trains. So 12214. So 12214 appears here.
It's arriving in Bangalore.
Yes, arriving in Bangalore, so it is coming into Bangalore. And the 12213 must be going the other way. It's departing from Bangalore and it's arriving. And you can check here also. It arrives and leaves.
Yeah.
So there is an edge here, which is 12213, and the matching edge is 12214. So Bangalore is connected to at least 2 of these things. What
Okay.
about looking at this geography? It's
What about
possibly Pune and Nagpur we can check. So 12214 does not appear, and there is no train with 0 here. So Bangalore is not actually connected to Pune.
Oh.
Nagpur,
Surprising. Means by these trains, whatever we have taken, right?
yeah. So let's see Nagpur. Nagpur also I don't see 12214. I don't see any train.
So Bangalore not connected to
And
Nagpur.
yeah, so Bangalore is not connected to Nagpur, which is a bit unusual. Okay. So this is what Bangalore is connected to. So now we can do the same thing with each of these stations. So Secunderabad we can see now. Secunderabad we know is connected to Bangalore, but it has many trains. So is it connected to Vijayawada? This is logical. 22203 appears at the beginning, and it's arriving in Secunderabad. So it is coming from Vijayawada to Secunderabad. Alright. So that is
22203.
okay. And there must be a pair 22204 which is going the other way.
This one, yeah.
Yeah. So we know Secunderabad and Vijayawada. What about Secunderabad and
Nagpur,
Nagpur, for instance?
very likely. No?
Quite likely, I would say.
Okay.
So we will check 2203 goes the other way. It's not there. 12213 is not there. 12219 is not there. 02285. Ah, 8685.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's there. Okay.
Okay. So 02.
This guy is departing.
Yeah.
So departing Secunderabad, 85, and arriving Nagpur.
02285, and presumably the reverse
86.
goes back. 02286. Right. So this is our thing for Secunderabad. I very much doubt it is connected to Kanpur by a direct train.
Secunderabad.
Yeah. These are all 122. So 12219, 1314. No, these are all higher.
Okay.
So
No.
it's not connected. Pune, should check.
Secunderabad, Pune will be surely connected.
12219.
12219, yeah. So again here this guy is arriving 12219. So Pune to Secunderabad.
Okay, so Pune to Secunderabad is
12219.
12219.
1220 is the direction.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Right.
Then Secunderabad to Kanpur.
Kanpur we already said no. So Secunderabad is now covered.
Okay.
Right. Now let's
Bangalore,
look at
Vijayawada, Secunderabad they done.
Vijayawada. Vijayawada, should we check any more?
Kolkata it will have, but we are not interested in Kolkata.
Right.
Kanpur should we take?
Kanpur, let us see.
Pune.
2269, no. Pune, let's see. These are all 122. So 196497
No.
2063222198. No.
Okay.
So, and it's also unlikely to be Kanpur.
No, unlikely to be.
6970, yeah, here we don't have 6970. Okay.
Okay, so Vijayawada is finished.
So this part is finished. Now we can look at Pune and Nagpur. So Pune we have already compared with these three. So we only have to look for Nagpur. Yeah.
So 12220.
Yeah, 2021 is there.
2021.
So 20 is leaving from Pune and at 7:55. And what time does it get there? 12220 or 122. No, it will
21 and 22 it is.
21 and 22. Okay, sorry. 21, yeah, departs from Pune. So it must be starting from Pune and going
So
to
Pune to
Nagpur.
Nagpur.
Yeah, because it.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1221. 12221.
12221 and 12222 in the other direction.
Okay. Right. And Pune to Kanpur, I doubt there is a direct train, and I don't see a number which is in common to the two lists.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pune is done, and then finally we have Nagpur, which has now been connected to. I mean, we already checked. So Nagpur, Kanpur is what we have to check.
Which is likely, huh? Is likely. 60.
60. No, do you have 60? This is 61.
61.
60 will go with 59, I think. So
6162, no?
no,
Okay. 2221.
no,
0 is not there at all, right? 12270.
no,
89.
no, none of them are there.
69.
Yeah.
85.
No. So I think for getting to Kanpur, I think one has to now resort to
Delhi
going to
only,
Delhi. Yeah. So I think Delhi.
So these are all connected to each other nicely, huh?
So this is an interesting graph because now it says, for instance, that you can go from Bangalore to Pune via Secunderabad. You can also go from Vijayawada to Pune via Secunderabad. You can go to Bangalore to Nagpur.
Multiple ways of going from Bangalore.
Yeah. So Secunderabad is actually the best connected here because it is connected to all four of them.
Yeah.
In this lot.
So if I want to go from Bangalore to Nagpur, I could go Bangalore, Secunderabad, Nagpur.
Yeah.
I could also go Bangalore, Secunderabad, Pune, Nagpur.
Yeah.
Multiple ways.
Yeah.
I can go Bangalore, Vijayawada, Secunderabad, Nagpur.
Yeah. So of course one would obviously, normally one would try to go the shortest way. But the trouble is that some of some of these trains run only on some days, so you may not be able to make a connection. For example, if you take this, you can check for instance, this is 12, 2 and 3 reach only on Saturdays going to Secunderabad.
So it looks to be this Kanpur, right? This Kanpur guy. He's only connected to Delhi, between Delhi and Kolkata, I think.
Possible.
Huh?
Yeah, because Kanpur should be connected.
That is why you need to go to Delhi or Calcutta to get to Kanpur. So let us write, I think for other places we will write via Delhi, via Calcutta, we will write some label.
Okay.
Put 2 trains you have to put.
Okay.
No?
So where will we write that?
Between Kanpur and Pune if you have to go, via Delhi.
Okay, so we just say via Delhi.
I hope it is there. Right? We don't know.
Yeah, but I believe that there should be.
Okay,
We can check.
Pune, Delhi.
We certainly know that Kanpur is connected to Delhi because, for instance, if you look at the trains,
73 is there.
73 is there. So Kanpur is connected to Delhi, and Kanpur is also connected to Calcutta, I think, because it is 2260
Yeah,
is there. So Kanpur is definitely connected to both.
Both Delhi and Calcutta.
So we just have to check whether these are connected there or not. So Pune, for instance, I think
63 is there.
63
12263.
12263. So this is okay. So
Pune to Delhi, Pune Delhi to
Yeah.
Kanpur is there.
Yeah.
And Pune to Kolkata to Kanpur also may be there, but
We don't care. Yeah. Similarly, Nagpur we should be connected to Delhi by many trains.
Nagpur should have many trains.
Yeah, because it's
So
on the
69,
Chennai.
69.
69. Yeah.
So
So Nagpur is also connected
Via Delhi.
via Delhi. Right. And in the same way, you might
Secunderabad?
find Secunderabad also is possibly connected via Delhi.
Secunderabad is connected to Delhi.
Should be connected, I would expect. There are 2 sets of trains for Delhi, so we should always check. 12214, for instance.
12 to 1, okay.
So this is also.
Secunderabad also via Delhi. Secunderabad should definitely be connected, okay, yeah, via Delhi. Maybe via Kolkata also.
Yeah, we know that Vijayawada goes to Calcutta.
Vijayawada will go to Calcutta.
So,
So you can say Vijayawada via Calcutta.
yeah, so we can draw a line here on this outside. So we have this kind of indirect thing which we are counting as a connection, because anyway we are going to connect. Eventually we are saying whether there is a sequence of trains, so it doesn't really have to be. So the direct edges are, if we drew the entire graph, we would actually draw.
So if I want to go Bangalore to Kanpur, let us say, there is no way directly I can't go. A single train via, I can't do.
2 trains also you can't do,
I can. No, 2 trains also I can't do.
because you have to go somewhere and then go via Delhi. So
So
in
I
fact
can
you
go,
have
the way is Bangalore to Vijayawada, Kolkata, Kanpur.
yeah, so minimum you
Bangalore
need
to
to
Secunderabad,
Delhi,
Nagpur, Delhi, Kanpur.
or even Secunderabad, Delhi, Kanpur you can do.
Secunderabad, Delhi, Kanpur. I can.
So you have to do minimum of 3 trains,
Oh, okay.
right? And this is what we were saying, that Secunderabad, if you want to go from Bangalore, you can only go on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So on most days you might prefer to go to Vijayawada, because Vijayawada has trains 5 days a week.
Oh, okay.
So even though it is one more hop, it might be, say Vijayawada Secunderabad is also not too bad, because on Vijayawada to Secunderabad it's just 222. So this is 3 days a week. So there are more ways to go from Bangalore to Secunderabad via Vijayawada than to go if you look at this extra information. So this graph is not capturing that day of the week. So in principle you have a different graph for every day of the week.
Yeah, correct.
And the day of the week is also a bit strange, because if you say it is Wednesday
When you
here,
start and
then
when-
it
what
will be
time you
Thursday there, it will be Friday there, and so on. So that is very difficult to capture in one graph. But statically, if we capture all the days,
don't care about the number of
days, then still you know that a minimum of 3 trains you will need to go
So
from.
I want to ask, people do this pilgrimage, right? They go, they say, I want to visit these 2 or 3 cities where there's they want to
Yeah,
visit some temple or
specific,
something, right? Whatever it is. And they want to do one place, 2 or 3 places like that, and then they want to come back home. So let us say I want to go like that. I want to visit, let us say I want to go to Nagpur, Kanpur, Pune, and come back. From Bangalore. I'm in Bangalore. I want to do Pune, Nagpur, and Kanpur. 3 cities I want to visit. And come back. So will this graph tell me how to do that? I mean, is this a good way of doing that?
It will certainly tell you different ways of doing it. For instance, it could tell, first of all, you know that to get to any of these places, you have to go via Secunderabad
Okay.
or via Vijayawada and hit Kanpur from the top.
Okay.
But then having got here, for example, supposing you get here, now you can either go to Nagpur and then go to Kanpur.
Okay.
Or you can come to Pune and then go to Kanpur. So you can do Kanpur, Pune and Nagpur in any order. Not in any order, but you can do it.
It seems that it's better to do Pune to Nagpur because direct train is there.
Yeah, but then Nagpur to Kanpur is a Delhi train anyway.
I have to do
so
that.
Somewhere you have to do a Delhi train. So and you're
I
coming
don't
back
do
also.
2 times Delhi train.
But you have to do it. Either you have to come back to Nagpur via Delhi train, or you so see once you go to Kanpur, you have to visit Delhi or you have to come via Calcutta and come back this way. So Kanpur has given you this in this collection of cities. Kanpur has this extra overhead. However you go to Kanpur, you have to make a stop.
Stop in Delhi 2 times.
Yeah, so there are 2 trains in both directions.
I have to go Delhi to Kanpur, Kanpur back to Delhi.
Yeah. So then you might as well avoid this extra thing and go straight to Pune. So at least you avoid doing.
But whatever it is, it's better than looking at these trains.
Absolutely.
Right? This is much more compact.
Yes.
At least I can see the options much more easily.
And in fact, you can, in a sense, if I follow this, if I look at some train, for instance, so maybe we should pick up a train. Let us look at, for instance, one of these trains which you said goes to Calcutta, like this 0224.
Vijayawada too.
Yeah, so let's look at this 02246, for instance.
246, okay.
Right. So if we had drawn the full graph, right, then this would have had these in-between stations. So there would have been an edge from Bangalore to Renigunta, labeled 2246. There would have been an edge from Renigunta to Vijayawada, labeled 2246. There would have been an edge from Vijayawada to Vizianagaram, Vizianagaram to Bhubaneswar, Bhubaneswar, Calcutta. So by tracing this edge with the same label, you actually follow this path. So all the information that is there in this card can actually be reconstructed from the graph if we keep these edge labels. Not the timings, because we don't have the timings here, but at least the sequence in which each train goes, we will get back. And if we ignore that sequence, we just want to know I can go from here to there, you can just say, okay, how many hops I need to take. So this is definitely a nice way of
compact way.
Instead of all these separate cards with a lot of data scattered between them, this is one way of doing it directly. And then all our computation
can be on this graph.
Is done only on this graph.
And much more easy also, it looks like to me, because you just have to navigate the graph. You saw that you just have some lists, right?
Yes.
So Bangalore, you will have a list of
all the outgoing edges,
incoming edges.
Yes. And then you have to have a systematic way of finding out.
Go through the list.
Yeah.
Systematically, which we know how to do, iterate.
Yes.
For the elements in the list.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. So finally, we have to do a kind of search through this graph to find the best path or to find if there is a path. But that we can do systematically just by keeping track of the neighbors that we have recorded on the graph. So that's one advantage of moving from this explicit tables to this kind of combined representation.